Hi, I'm Margaret Carney, and I'm Director of the International Museum of Dinnerware Design. Today we're having the opening reception for our 4th Biennial Juried and Invitational exhibition, which is titled Breakfast, celebrating the first meal of the day. We have 2 special organizations I wish to particularly thank today for making this all happen, and then I'll get to the wonderful artists who also helped make it happen. First, I want to thank the Ann Arbor District Library for hosting this special event today. More importantly, I want to thank the Washtenaw County Historical Society, their museum on Main Street, who have welcomed us once again in this partnership exhibition at their wonderful historic home. Part of the building dates to 1835, and if you want to learn more about this historic building, go to washtenawhistory.org and learn all about it. Our exhibition today, Breakfast, includes the work of 40 diverse artists. The artists were chosen either through the jurying process or they were invited to be participants in the show. The juror for the exhibition is Ursula Hargens, who's a noted educator and artist herself. Through a very thoughtful process, she selected the artists you'll see today, and I will be talking in a few minutes about each artwork individually for just a couple of minutes. I want to thank Ursula for her wonderful jurying, and also to let you know that her jury statement is available right now at our website at www.dinnerwaremuseum.org. The artist prizes that will be awarded today were generously provided by Jiffy Mixes of Chelsea Milling Company in nearby Chelsea, Michigan. We thank them very much for their support. I want to congratulate all the artists who participated in this show with their fine artwork, and every one of them helped make this show a success. I want to begin our tour today by starting in the front room here and talking a little bit about the artwork in general. Each of our earlier juried and invitational exhibitions also had a historic component, but this time we've chosen to weave the historic work among the contemporary. We hope you will embrace this concept. There are 3 rooms in this historic building that are devoted to this exhibition, and we're going to logically start with the front room. As I look around, in addition to the work of contemporary artists, there are at least 6 distinct art movements represented or referenced among the historic and even the contemporary artworks. Pop art by artist Roy Lichtenstein, who in this case was the designer, was created by Jackson China and manufactured in 1966. It's titled For the Breakfast After the Happening. It's in a limited edition of 600 sets, and it was advertised in Art in America for $50. It's a promised gift of Susie and John Stevenson. California folk is represented by San Francisco Bay Area artist David Gilhooly. His piece is titled Frog Fruit Loops, and it's a possession of the International Museum of Dinnerware Design. Another art movement we can see is right next to that piece. It's mid-century modern dinnerware designs by Eva Zeisel from the 1950s, manufactured by Hall China in East Liverpool, Ohio, and called Tomorrow's Classic, part of the Hallcraft line. This exhibition also includes references to surrealist artist Merritt Oppenheim and French expressionist painter Edouard Manet. Julianne Harvey's first prize award winner is titled Over Easy with French Toast, No Bacon. Her work speaks to the current events that have shocked the American public. In her artist statement, she notes inspiration from the ambiguity and controversies explored in Jericho's Raft of the Medusa, an oil painting from the early 1800s. Next, we see the work of Janet Moreno. In her work titled Contrast, she celebrates the peace and calm that can be found at breakfast, enjoying a morning cup of tea. Leopold Foulem in Merritt and Edouard, a mixed media work. Canadian artist Leopold Foulem describes his piece as an intellectual appropriation of 2 very famous artworks. Here I'll quote from his artist statement directly. This sculpture is an intellectual appropriation of 2 very famous artworks. Déjeuner sur l'Eau, a painting of 1866 by Edouard Manet, and Déjeuner en Feu, a mixed media sculpture of 1936 by surrealist artist Merritt Oppenheim. The porcelain egg cup, a found object, was personalized for merit and refired. The faux grass refers to the title of Manet's painting. Déjeuner, the Canadian-French word for breakfast, which is the title of this exhibition, becomes the common denominator uniting these two disruptive historic works of art. The Merritt Oppenheim piece is in the Museum of Modern Art, and the Manet is located in the Musée d'Orsay in Paris. This is the work of Posey Bacopoulos. In her artist statement about her work, Breakfast Tea, New York-based artist Posey Bacopoulos notes that breakfast tea is the beginning of a morning ritual, which is particularly important in these difficult times of isolation. It is her hope that its use will bring peace and calm to the user while looking forward to brighter days. Her work is a contemporary approach to traditional maiolica wares of the Italian Renaissance. Next, we're looking at the work of Linda Sikora. In her Beverage, Biscuits, Berries, Bouquet, Branch, that's her title, breakfast set from 2020, it's a magnificent invitation and inspiration to us all to take the time at breakfast to appreciate good company, good health, and gratitude for all we have. This is the work of Erika Kobayashi, who was the third place award winner. In her artist statement, Erika, who was born and raised in Japan, recalls a childhood trip to Hawaii where she enjoyed her first colorful breakfast, one that was both shocking and delicious to her. Her work is all about fleeting memories, and that's what she's titled her piece. And finally, you ask, why are there two empty individual serving-size boxes of Rice Krispies from the 1960s in this exhibition? When opened at their perforations, you can see that they're lined with wax paper. These boxes become bowls for the child and all of us to enjoy a bowl of cereal. At the end of this tour, we're going to offer you the chance to view a couple-minute YouTube, which will inform you as to whether the 60-year-old Rice Krispies still went snap, crackle, pop when milk was poured on them after all these years. Now we'll move on from leaping frogs and snap, crackle, pop to the second room, which features plate settings, coffee mugs, at least one cream and sugar set, salt and pepper shakers, and more. All more celebratory breakfast dining items. Let's begin today by enjoying the place settings on this table. First, we have the place setting by the artist Diana Pantioli. She won the second prize award in the breakfast competition. If you were ever invited to Diana's home for a meal, you will be in for a treat. She's a self-described devoted cook. To illustrate how beautiful food looks when being served on her breakfastware, one only needs to look at the image she sent with her juried entry. The set is titled Breakfast for One. Here we have the work of Nancy Bulkley, her breakfast set. You are probably like Nancy and you love to eat out of handmade wares. She loves visualizing others doing the same out of her work. While her work clearly celebrates breakfast, my favorite part of her artist statement was when she was describing several memorable breakfasts, including her experience on a trip to London where she ordered a fruit plate at a very nice hotel and was surprised when she was presented with the arrival of one whole, unpeeled banana on a plate. We also included her image of her dishes with breakfast being served on them. Doesn't it look delicious? This is the work of Paul Katula. He's an artist, gallery owner, curator, and professor. We were lucky to receive 2 bowl and plate settings from the invited artist Paul Katula. It is left to your imagination to visualize what his cup, mug, or tumbler might look like. He tells us that we choose dishes to fit a meal, the essence of a particular time of day. These were gathered for breakfast. Here we have the work of Janelle Jacobson. Her egg cup, bowl, and mug breakfast set uses a Malcolm Davis Chino glaze. In her artist statement, she notes that breakfast is always a good occasion to use your favorite pots to help start the day. I'm sure if you owned these, they would be part of your morning celebration. Next is the work of Irina Bondarenko. I was really surprised and delighted to receive this egg cup set. She wrote in her artist statement, When I think of breakfast, especially a lazy, late Sunday morning breakfast, the egg comes to mind. This set is an improvisation on the nature of a soft-boiled egg. Most specifically, its capability to escape the boundaries of the hard shell. She writes, "In my piece, I mimic these qualities by contrasting the free-flowing interior with the hard-faceted, unglazed exterior." Here we have the work of Stephanie Osser. You can probably tell by Stephanie's work that she is the gifted illustrator of an award-winning children's book titled All About Eggs. She uses these same illustrations on her charming breakfast sets, meant to be used to enjoy pancakes, maple syrup, and milk. Will Swanson created this two-piece set comprised of a stoneware plate and cup with a Chino glaze. I particularly enjoyed his artist statement. Beginning the day with breakfast enjoyed on pottery that was handmade by another person is not a life-changing experience. However, it can be a connection to another person and an appreciation of the human urge to create and to share. Today we are using the tea set by Will McComb titled Tea for One as our centerpiece. In his artist statement, he noted that the spaces we clear around daily meals are powerful opportunities for contemplation and connection. He also wrote that his work often deals with the consumption of brewed beverages like coffee and tea. The meditative awareness that arises from the preparation and enjoyment of these caffeinated elixirs acts to bolster us in our daily journeys. Cara Mccarthy created this joyful porcelain sunshine and sugar breakfast set. She is a former professional dancer, and she noted in her artist statement that working with clay became my new dance, creating movement in stillness her motif. She uses clay to create her own tiny urban gardens. Her favorite mantra has become, "Never enough flowers." I wish the Plexa vitrine wasn't here so I could lift up the lid on her butter dish and show you the dance going on inside the lid. I get happy every time I look at her work. Malcolm Mabudu Smith created this heavy stoneware cream and sugar set. They invite the diner to spend time with the ornamentation. His work is driven by the energies of hip-hop and jazz in wheel-thrown and hand-built creations. In his artist statement, he notes that he is using intersections with graffiti art, organic abstraction, and cues from pottery traditions and African art as fertile soil for invention. And his works are guided by improvisations merging volume with graphic flatness or playful exaggeration of form. He uses letter form here to both make and name the containers, sugar and cream. Alice Abrams created this food-centric ceramic eggs and bacon sculpture, which falls, in my opinion, somewhere between trompe-l'oeil and kitsch. The artist refers to this type of work as ceramic food imagery and notes that she spends a fair amount of time in her kitchen. She says her inspiration for breakfast came from her concept of the Sunday morning hearty winter breakfast in New England. We ran out of room for the historic syrup dispensers in the third room where we have a focus on waffles, so here are several pressed glass, Anchor Hocking or Hazel Atlas glass syrup dispensers with tin tops that date around 1915 from our permanent collection, along with two syrup dispensers designed by Eva Zeisel from 1947. We'll come back to that topic later. Carrie Ohm created this porcelain celadon glazed lidded piece that she titled Breakfast Cloud Platter to be used for serving small pancakes. Every once in a while, I like to throw in something about an artist that caught my eye. In addition to her life as an artist and educator, she's an Ironman triathlete. She says in her artist statement that she delights in dramatic reveal, the quiet spectacle of surprise and possibility. That is what is contained by my domed lids, big and small. Wonder, hope, air, maybe nothing, maybe something special, and in this case, pancakes. Ann Tubbs shares with us today a miniature breakfast set titled Tea, Toast, and Berries, a breakfast of small things. In addition to so many small plates, cups, saucers, and bowls, there's a small house for flowers, and even my favorite, an adorable pink rabbit. This miniature set is a feast for the eyes, as well as the proverbial feast when you see an image of the work with food on it. Debbie Thompson offers the breakfast diner her time to collect the eggs sculpture with a function as a covered dish. Her artist statement in verse reads, "Scrambled eggs, French toast, eggs for breakfast, I like the most. Quiche, pancakes, and so much more satisfies hunger to the core. As the eggs pile high, I must not forget, if I fail to collect, it's an act I'll regret." Robin Wilt created this delightful breakfast train made of clay and wire. In her artist statement, she tells us that this piece is intended to embody the sequence of eating breakfast into the movement represented by the train. First the egg, then the bacon, then the toast, and 2 empty cups for jelly and jam. She views it as an appropriate table decoration with flour and is shown in the engine, represented by a hen who produced part of the breakfast herself. And here is our coffee corner, with my favorite red stoneware coffee cups by Paul Eshelman, with the geometric designs inspired by the mathematician Euclid. The set is titled Coffee with Euclid, and the artist wants the coffee drinker to picture Euclid and his friends drinking their morning Greek coffee while they discuss the intrigues of geometry. Dana Miller created this white stoneware coffee pour-over and mug set in 2020. She invites the coffee drinker to consider all the ways that handmade ceramic objects impact our day-to-day. In her artist statement, she recalls that millions of people experience these interactions and have for millennia. She reflects on the pottery tradition that is as old as civilization and how the personalities of these homemade objects enhance a homemade breakfast. The idea of breakfast salt and pepper sets brings a whole new host of ideas to the table. From ceramicist Kate Mowry, we received this pair with a ceremonial flair that she titled Salt and Pepper Flower Buds, very appropriate for the spring date of this exhibition. Kate tells us in her artist statement that breakfast is a particular moment of the day that enhances our re-entry into the world, be it in the workforce, studies, or workout. The salt and pepper flower bud set in this exhibition is intended to add a richness to the morning ritual through visual abundance in texture, tactility, and lushness of excess. Invited artist Jeff Astrike presented us with a new favorite ritual object, a stoneware and salt-fired salt and pepper cradle with copper and brass spoons. He even provided the pepper and Himalayan salt. His lifelong interest has been the making of functional pottery made on a potter's wheel. However, this cradle is hand-built, and he also made the copper and brass spoons in the set. Sarah Lynch created a salt and pepper shaker set that should only be used at breakfast. She appropriately titled the work, Egg and Toast Salt and Pepper Shakers. She says that hybrid, functional sculptural objects are some of her favorite things to create, and she proves it with this charming pair. From our IMI permanent collection are these 2 sets of magneto-magnetic salt and pepper shakers and mini magneto versions, designed by Josh Owen in 2004 and 2006, respectively. They were produced and marketed by Kirkerland Design, Inc. I don't think I have to explain the concept to you. And who says an artist can't have some fun with the topic of breakfast? Roy Nestor takes a look at the dark side of this topic. She wrote in her artist statement, "Life is dark and wicked. Environmental catastrophes, political fiascos, and social decay have all become business as usual. Desensitized to tragedy, we often have difficulties confronting looming global issues, and I'm left mystified by our ability to ignore what's right in front of us." She continues, "Finding the humor in chaos, I'm able to navigate the challenging times in which we live." And now we're moving into the third room in this wonderful historic home. As we enter the third room, we're greeted by the topic of toast, toast, and more toast. The vignette is complete with historic toasters from our iMod permanent collection dating from 1930 and 1940. Just look how the toast would pop up. Can I show you? And this one. And we also have a Bakelite toast rack from our permanent collection. Ursula Hargan says she created this earthenware toast rack because she enjoys the challenge of reinventing forms with archaic functions. That raises the question of how many of us use a toast rack at home. She notes that toast racks have a specific function, but they're also complex miniature sculptural forms. And I say, I'll never take toast for granted again. Elizabeth Coleman invites the diner to place their toasted toast in her turquoise toast tray. Her artist statement was one of my all-time favorites. She wrote, "I love toast so much, I once composed an aria for the cinnamon raisin toast made from new French bakery bread. Who else amongst us can say that?" David Morrison surprised me with his toast truck entry in the jury competition. I immediately wondered why no one else had thought of this. He wrote in his artist statement that his memories of sharing dinners resulted in his fascination with functional objects because of their ability to facilitate connections while providing nourishment. He finds pleasure in knowing someone would use his work to begin their day. The toast truck is made for breakfast, hauling toast to your table. Artist Melanie Doron is based in Nova Scotia. I don't know if I ever mentioned that this breakfast, juried, and invitational exhibition includes artists from both the U.S. and Canada. She invites 2 breakfast diners to her table with her Toast for 2 piece. She says this piece came about by imagining a quiet morning breakfast of toast and jam shared with a loved one. Her ceramic set uses a metallic accent glaze as a nod to Victorian-style metal toast racks, her original inspiration. She includes the 2 ceramic butter knives along with the jam caddy dish and toast rack. The lone toast plate in the exhibition was created by artist Shana Salaf. I'm embarrassed to say that I had to look up a word in her artist statement. About her porcelaneous stoneware toast plate, she wrote, "A simple form, highly decorated. This plate elevates quotidian to an aesthetic experience." Quotidian, of course, means of or occurring every day. Yes, indeed, this toast plate does exactly that. Next, I'd like to share with you the 2 design boards that were juried into the exhibition. We invited designers as well as artists to participate, and we were delighted to receive entries in this category. Both entries are from students in ceramic arts at Michigan State University. The pandemic made it impossible to work in clay, and design became an important focus for the students. Grace Fish created the design board Sunday Morning, featuring a set of plates, bowls, and mugs inspired by our family's tradition of Sunday morning pancake breakfast. Its bright colors and simple lines are inspired by the comics of the Sunday paper, and the different pieces can be arranged to form 4 short narratives about preparing and enjoying breakfast. May King Series' design board is titled Modern Street Hong Kong. Her inspiration came from trips to Hong Kong, where she had a great experience with their street food and the Chinese delicacy dim sum. The set she designed focuses on the practicality of eating dim sum while keeping a balance between historical, stylistic references and modern minimalism in both form and color palette. Before we take a look at our section devoted to all things waffles, pancakes, and a little cereal thrown in, I want to stop by our poster display that reminds us it's always breakfast sometime, somewhere. We believe the original poster dates to around 1935, with a booklet being published later. The in-person visitor to the exhibition can select a country's cuisine from the magnetic board we created and add or subtract that food from the table at which the 2 children are seated. It's intended to provide minutes of educational fun during your in-person visit later this season. Public hours will be posted on both the websites of the International Museum of Dinnerware Design, along with the Washtenaw County Historical Society Museum on Main Street. Now to more breakfast dining. Here is the Art Deco era modernistic waffle iron, syrup, and batter bowl from the iMod Permanent Collection. It's alongside the waffle breakfast set created by the artist Ruth Easterbrook. She writes in her artist statement that food is her family's love language, presented to acknowledge, elevate, or mark a moment or person. She says, homemade oat sourdough waffles are one of her dad's signatures and have become a tradition of coming together every Sunday. Currently, she lives across the country from her family, and because of the pandemic, she hasn't been able to visit with them in over a year. During the lockdown, like so many, she began her own sourdough, and now she has a starter and can make her own. Through this act, she connects from far away. Through her pots, she sets the stage for her waffles, butter, and maple syrup. The flower motifs are a different story. You'll need to visit the online catalog to read the rest of the story by Ruth Easterbrook. I apologize for the unappetizing fake waffle on display. Invited artist S.C. Rolfe created the dark Stoneware syrup server displayed next to Ruth's waffle set. He notes that breakfast is one of his favorite meals, probably because his mind is still asleep or in a sleep-like state where he can think without really thinking. He can see shapes and experience objects before the demands of the day kick in. These small pouring vessels have an intimacy similar to a mug, and yet, he says, they also have a sense they could scale up into something much bigger. He writes, "This syrup server was once a liquidly massive clay and now pours a liquid formed from a plant. These are the dreamy thoughts that these little pots serve up at breakfast." We have another little cereal corner here to balance the Fruit Loops and Rice Krispies in the first room. Here we see a wood-fired stoneware bowl created by Hadi Abbas. I love his artistic statement. If you choose a bowl and choose it rightly, you can use it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's like a relationship. If you choose the right one, it will last you for life. He says for himself he enjoys using this bowl for hot meals like oatmeal with blueberries on top. Designer Peter Sanger designed the slip-cast porcelain Meals on Wheel bowl in 2017, with this one being produced in 2021. He designed and produced this bowl to support Meals on Wheels and Empty Bowls projects in his community in Delaware. He pledges that the artist's share of sales will be donated to a food insecurity relief effort in the purchaser's choice. The birth of the Dion quintuplets in Canada in the 1930s sparked endless curiosity around the world. This chrome cereal bowl with the inscribed little girls' names and faces from our permanent collection, along with the also named silver plate spoons, were advertised on packages of Quaker Oats. Ceramicist David Mcdonald presents the breakfast diner with his earthenware bacon dish number 2. He grew up in a large family and noted that meals were always a chaotic and competitive event. If you were late for dinner, you were sometimes out of luck. Breakfasts on the weekends were always very special events with biscuits, pancakes with lots of syrup, eggs, and hash brown potatoes. But for him, the most important entree was bacon. He continues, "To this day, I can't imagine anyone eating bacon at any other time than breakfast, even though people are eating bacon on all sorts of things throughout the day. I decided to create a vessel that would give bacon its place of honor at the breakfast table." I probably should have started with the batter bowl that would make all these pancakes and waffles possible. Here we have a soda-fired stoneware turquoise batter bowl by John Cummings. In his artist statement, he says his surface decorations are inspired by abstract expressionism. He continues, "The implied gesture, movement, and boldness that abstract expressionism has achieved exhilarates me. Through the use of line and color, he is inspired to create bold and gestural surfaces in his work." At this point, I should mention that you'll see on the online catalog available at dinnerwaremuseum.org that some of the pieces in this exhibition are for sale. Because we don't usually offer work for sale, you'll need to email me to arrange the purchase. director@dinnerwaremuseum.org. Instructions are on our website with the online catalog. And finally, for a little drama, we share a bit of breakfast juice related materials as we present an entire black light illuminated uranium and Vaseline glass case of breakfastware, including a juice pitcher and tumblers, a juicer, a cake stand for a breakfast coffee cake, syrups, a cream and sugar, and more. It's all being watched over by a 1930 Sunbeam Mixmaster electric juicer and a poster and an advertisement for Tang, the breakfast drink. Please stay with us for a 3-minute YouTube you'll enjoy. We promise to share with you whether 60-year-old Rice Krispies will still go snap, crackle, pop when milk is poured over them. And if you stay tuned here, we're going to show you that little YouTube. Thank you so much for attending our events today, and please come visit us in person when it is safe, and visit our website shown at the end of the following YouTube.